What if the very essence of free trade was manipulated to serve the interests of a colonial power? Imagine a time when the principles of free market were distorted to feed the economic ambitions of a distant empire. Welcome to the second stage of colonialism, the colonialism of free trade, a period that spanned from the Charter Act of 1813 to the 1860s. This stage was set into motion when the East India Company, having acquired rule over large parts of India, was subject to a debate in Britain. The emerging industrial capitalists started to criticize the company's exploitation of India. They demanded that the newly conquered colony serve British capitalist interests, which differed greatly from those of the East India Company. The vision was clear. India was to serve as a market for the ever-increasing output of British manufactured goods, especially textiles. The new capitalists in England needed raw materials from India, particularly cotton and food grains. Moreover, India could procure more British goods only if it enhanced its exports, thereby earning foreign exchange. The export of raw materials from India increased sharply to meet the dividends of the company and the profits of British merchants. Furthermore, funds were needed to pay for the pensions of British officials who would retire to Britain. This phase of colonialism had several dominant features. Firstly, India's colonial economy was integrated with the British and the world capitalist economy through the introduction of free trade. All import duties in India were either totally removed or drastically reduced to nominal rates. Secondly, British capitalists were granted free entry to develop tea, coffee and indigo plantations, trade, transport, mining and modern industries in India. The British Indian government actively supported these capitalists. Thirdly, the permanent settlement and the Ryotwari system in agriculture were introduced to transform traditional agrarian structure into a capitalist one. Fourthly, administration was expanded to include villages and outlying areas of the country to ensure the reach of British goods and the extraction of agricultural products. Fifthly, changes related to criminal law of contract and legal procedures were overhauled to promote capitalist commercial relations and maintain law and order, while personal law was largely left untouched. Next, modern education was introduced to provide cheap manpower to the vastly expanded administration and to create a culture of loyalty to the rulers. Additionally, the taxation and the burden on peasants rose sharply due to the economic transformation and costly administration. India absorbed 10 to 12% of British exports and nearly 20% of Britain's textile exports. After 1850, engine coaches, rail lines, and other railway stores were imported into India at a large scale. Finally, the Indian Army was used for British expansion of colonialism in Asia and Africa. In summary, this was a time when the principles of free trade were skewed to serve the economic interests of the British Empire. It was a period of exploitation, where the resources and people of India were used to fuel the Industrial Revolution in Britain. The impact of this second stage of colonialism was far-reaching, shaping the economic, social, and political landscapes of India in ways that are still evident today.